Tonight, we're going to talk about starting point. Where do we start? Steve last week talked to you all about how to build a dynamic or a big base shop. What was integral in doing that and why that was so important. And you all have heard it tossed around the GPS selling system, and that we utilize this GPS selling system. That's kind of your rules of engagement. What do you do on your first appointment? What do you do on your second appointment? Then moving into how do you run an analysis for a client, and then eventually how do you go into analysis to closing and cash register and doing everything that you need to do. The reality is that we're bringing in a lot of brand new agents, and for many of you that have been around, this will seem like old hat. I think almost like just refresher stuff, but it's very important, I have found in sales, to always go back to the basics and review the basics of where we start in sales and build a plan, because people never fail to plan. They just always, never plan to fail. They always just fail to plan. And so we're going to talk about what is called sales track over the next few weeks. And sales track, what we're going to be discussing is kind of the introduction of the product, the opportunity, things of that nature to the prospective agent recruit or client recruit. And you have some basic pieces that go with this introduction. And we're going to go through all of these pieces over the next few weeks. Tonight we're going to go with starting point, but we're going to look at your 15-second commercial, your personal large story, use of qualifiers and tie-down questions. Litmus test, which you see directly moving into the GPS selling system, and then setting your appointment. So I want you to be aware that everything that we're going into right now is all about how to introduce the product. And I think people stand in a lot of different camps. Do we sell to recruit? Do we recruit to sell? I say you do both. But I want you to understand this is all designed to be kind of the introduction. Once you get through qualifiers and tie downs, the introduction that you have with a client to kind of introduce them to your GPS selling system of this is how many appointments I usually do, this is what I usually do. Now, I do want to let you know this. With the GPS selling system, there is a little bit of confusion. If you can close somebody on one appointment, by all means, if you have that ability to be able to go through an analysis, be able to explain it, get them on your side, gain their trust, and close it, and do it in one appointment and do it effectively, then by all means do it. What we have found has been the most effective for most people, especially starting out, is using a two-appointment process. So the idea of starting point is, okay, I'm an agent with UFF, but I don't know where to start. What's my first step? I'm not sure I should be approaching. Whom should I start with? Well, I think there's some very basic things we have to look at. And Steve, you want to talk to him a little bit about why recruiting is the lifeblood of our industry?
Absolutely. I've been around in the recruiting industry for a long time. I started off in the insurance industry about 40 years ago, and I was introduced to the first time in my life to recruiting and building and how that comes into play with utilizing the opportunity to build a bigger business and to build a bigger market. When we talk about the lifeblood of your business, why do we put such emphasis on it? Why do we put such importance on it? See, one of the things that happens throughout any sales type industry, there's one major problem when you're in sales. It's the most important thing that you need is a prospect, right? You need someone new to talk to. You need a market to go see. You need people to present to. You can be the greatest presenter in the world, but if you're not talking to anyone and you don't have anyone to speak to or give a presentation to, you're not going to make any money. You can give a great presentation to the wall. That's fantastic. But unless you're in front of someone doing that, then you don't have the opportunity to make any income. So recruiting was created so that you can expand your market. You can grow your market. Why? Why do it through that way? Because a warm market sale is the best sale there ever was. A warm market sale. Listen, are there lead programs or different type of social media type programs? Absolutely. Can you make sales doing those? Absolutely. The percentages are going to be lower. That's just a matter of fact. Now, I'm not trying to tell you don't do it. I'm just giving you an example. If I'm going to take my time and I want to increase the opportunity to close more sales, what do I need to do? You need to go build your business. You need to recruit new people, people that have a center of influence. They have credibility. They know other people. So as you're giving the presentation, or they're getting appointments for you, right? They've made a list of 100 people. They're out there. You taught them what to say, how to open the opportunity for you to give a presentation. You now are the king. You're the or queen. You're the one that knows how to give the presentation. You're the professional. You know everything about what this program does. And so they have a story to tell them, and it just increased your market by 30 to 40 to 50 to maybe even 100 more people for one person, by recruiting one person. So you can recruit and build and expand the growth of your business by hundreds, if not thousands, of other people by building management and recruiting people into your business. And that is the formula: recruit, sell, repeat. You want to constantly focus on recruiting and making personal sales. Look, always be training, always be teaching, always be showing your team to do the same thing. It's duplicatable. You and your team's potential is absolutely limitless when you do these types of things.
And you hit it, Steve, right on the head when you said it's duplicatable. We see a lot of people trying to reinvent the wheel, and if you look at a lot of the tools that are in place, the people that are closing really strong, they're using the tools that are in place. They're not creating new tools in order to take them through the process. And that's what's most important, is that we have a duplicatable process. We want to think about something when we're talking, Steve. I think, in that recruit to sell, sell to recruit, I think in our case with our particular product, it's very important that we kind of treat a client prospect and an agent prospect in the same way. And what I mean by that is I think they both need to be introduced to the product. The reason that I believe that, Stephen, you can come in on this or you can disagree with it, but the reason I think that, from my experience, is because you need the buy-in of the agent, that they truly believe in the product, because the belief piece combined with enthusiasm and a little bit of knowledge, that is the key point to being able to recruit people, is that you truly believe in what you're doing, and then you can back it up with a process that's duplicatable. Does that ring true to you, Steve?
No, that's absolutely right. And Mac, I don't know if there's anything you can do about it, but you're cutting out just a little bit. I don't know, maybe speaking more into your phone or something. I don't know. It's not bad, but it is a little bit. You're absolutely right. I mean, listen, if someone doesn't believe in the product and they don't understand what it can do for them, then how are they going to go out and talk about it? How do they know that it really does work? Are you just trying to make a sale for the sake of making a sale? People read through that, and they begin to believe that, look, I think this person's just talking to me, and they're full of bull. They want to see the conviction. They want to see that you really believe in this. And listen, there's nothing that's going to give you a better sale and a better closing opportunity than to say, listen, my date to be out of debt is blank, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
I know it because I have the product. There's nothing stronger than you giving that out of debt date.
Yeah, that person's testimony.
That's right. Absolutely.
So when we're first introducing people to the product, the opportunity, things of the stage, we always want to introduce them to that, to the product and the opportunity. Many times you don't have the opportunity to really present the product in full. You know what I mean? But that's where we have the videos. So I think it's a win-win if we introduce everybody to the Money Max account program. If you gain an agent through the process, that's an added benefit. And they'll already have been introduced to the product. Because you may have certain people that you show the product, they're like, wow, that's amazing, but it's really not for me. And you move over to showing them the recruiting side, or you see that they're like, wow, that really is a strong product, and you take them down that avenue, and you see how that builds with them. Concentrate on leading everyone to give their numbers. This is something that John Washenko said to me years ago. And it really stuck with me, and I put it in just about every training that I've ever had, because your job can't start until you have accurate numbers to run an analysis, or at least, pretty close to accurate, but accurate's better. Obviously, junk in, junk out. But when you're even bringing in a new prospect, it's important that you have them run an analysis, run their analysis for them, get them involved, show them the power of the product, show them a demo of the product, get them their buy-in with that product. Steve, so with who do I start? Why don't you take off from here?
What we want to do is we really suggest and we believe that you start with people that you know, and the reason that you do that, it goes back to that same thing I was talking about a while ago. These are people that you have credibility with. You've got a circle of influence. They trust you. At least I hope that they trust you. And you have that commonality with them. The individual homeowner, you know people who own a home. You know people who probably have debt, which 99% of the people do, if not a higher number than that. The ones that really need it or are looking for relief, look, the best way, of course, is knee to knee, but that's not, in today's environment, that's not always important. You can do a one-on-one with a certified field trainer, either knee to knee across the kitchen table with someone, or you can do a webinar with them. We've got technology today. Thank goodness we've got technology, and that we're able to utilize that and go out and show people exactly what it can do for them right there on their own computer. And hopefully, look, if someone doesn't have a computer, they're probably not going to be for the product, because if they don't have a computer, they can't utilize the product. So if you go on there, you give a great presentation, you use a webinar to show them the product, it's going to give you that much more advantage. Your credibility will be so much easier to establish, and the language. When you're the trainer and you're out there helping someone, you're the person that knows what to say. You know what to do. You're helping that new person because you know the next thing to say or talk about or how to answer the question. Let's not just leave it up to the new person to try to wing their way through it. Then what you want to do is you want to move on from there with people that you maybe don't know. Maybe they are acquaintances, or maybe they're friends of friends. Maybe they're a referral. You always try to get a referral. Hey, do you know someone that might be interested in taking a look at this product? Do you know someone that's talked to you lately about being out of debt and how they would sure like to be out of debt? Try to get those referrals from people and get those new names. That always adds on to your list and continues to help you to build your business. Again, that's kind of a lukewarm market. Again, folks, I'm not telling you don't. Look, leads are fine. They're fine. Using social media, it's fine. But the most effective and impactful way is using that warm market, and that's another reason that we recruit. And another reason we recruit is so that you can build other managers, other certified field trainers. Yep. With every new prospect, you should be getting a list of names of at least 10 to 100 people minimum. So if you want to say a little bit about what they should be looking for, Mac.
Yeah, and with your name list, when we say, we don't want you just to think solely about getting names out of people that you meet and bring into the business, but that's a big part of it, because people you know people you don't know, and that's how it goes. So with a memory jogger, this is just, and some of these slides we're going to go through pretty quick, but like a memory jogger is making a list of everyone 100 names is a great start, and most of us can write down 100 names, and we have our chicken list, and we have, I really would like to talk to this person about it, but maybe they know more about finance than I do, and maybe I this is where three-way calls and things like that comes in, and running your list by your leader and being honest about your list. And the true thing is, don't try to discriminate as to who goes down on your list. What I tell people to do initially is write down every name you can think of, or open your cell phone and go through every phone number that you have. And therefore, don't discriminate on who should hear the message and who shouldn't. Now, personality is different and how to deliver a message and that thing. And yeah, I said categorize and break that down. But I can tell you this. Every successful person I've ever known in business has started with the name list. They protect that name list, and they continually add to that name list. We like to call
Mike,
it,
if I might say something kind of back on that before you move to the next part. You know, I've been in this business. I've been in this business a long, long time, and one of the things that really kind of I don't understand, and it kind of frustrates me a little bit, just to be honest, as we're sitting here talking and through this, is that you start talking about name lists, and people who have been in sales start going, oh man, I can't believe they're talking about name lists. Oh man, this company, they won't name list thing. Folks, it's because, listen, this is a new business for you. This is not the same business you've been in. Yep. This is Americans who are in debt. They're drowning in debt. This is a whole new marketplace. Why would you not make a list of people Well, I was in this other thing before, and I was in this other thing before, and I might have lost all my credibility. No, you haven't. You haven't. When you start talking to people about debt and helping them to get out of debt, that opens up a whole new market for you. And so don't ever back up or be ashamed to go out and start making that list and contacting those people and letting them know. I've done that for years and years and years. When I believe in something, I believe in something. And regardless of what it is, I want to share it with somebody. So that was kind of on my mind on that when it comes to making lists. Don't ever back up or be ashamed of doing that.
I'm glad you went into that because, I think we all, like I started with, we all forget the back to basics, and that's my BTTB list, back to the basics. And I put back to basics. It should be back to the basics, or BTB, back to basics, okay? So brainstorm with people in your database. Look, all of these little ideas, I want you to think about them. Spend 1 to 2 hours brainstorming on everyone you know. Do not judge. Think about this. If you have somebody else say, well, yeah, I'm going to spend 1 to 2 hours brainstorming. No, seriously, think if you did, and think out of that 1 to 2 hours, let's say you came up with 175 names. Let's say out of that 175 names, you came up with only 10 sales. Was it worth a couple hours? See, we never know who needs to hear this message and when they need to hear the message. That's the point. Don't judge. Just write down every name on your mind. Use a memory jogger, a telephone book, your cell phone contacts. Maybe you've been in other businesses and they have memory joggers and they have things written down there like who cuts your hair and who's your grocer and who's your mechanic and all those people. And use your database. That's your book of business, your sphere of influence, cell phone numbers, social media friends. And this goes back to compliance. Don't be outrageous. Reach out. Say, hey, is your house paid off yet? That could be a message left. Categorize these people: client, prospect, agent, prospect, both. If it's somebody that doesn't have any debt, that doesn't mean they're not a prospect for this business. And Jeff and Debbie Hatcher, Hatcher and Debbie Johnson are an exact proof of that. They're both completely out of debt and doing phenomenal with this business. Rank your prospects on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 not so hot, 10 very hot. Call on your top 10 prospects with your certified trainer. And I just want to say one thing. On the last slide, we said knee to knee with your certified trainer. Knee to knee nowadays is a web conference. So I'm sure we'll get back to where we absolutely will be able to get knee to knee again. But start making phone calls, 3-way calls with your certified trainer, going through some type of script, and creating your name list. Steve, you want to go on from here?
Yeah, one of the things that I think about is, when talking about people that or thinking about people that I want to talk to, what impact can I make on them? How can I change their life? And most people that I know have debt, and most people that I know that know other people have debt. Sometimes we start thinking and we think too hard. Look, just write down some people. Look, your phone is the best thing that you can do. The most commonly skipped step, yet one of the most important ones, is to help make you bulletproof. If you hear the word no or prospects are not ready to move forward, you're not sitting around with nothing to do. You have a list of people that need this program. They need what you have to offer. Follow up. Listen, I've always taught this. for many, many, many years, I've shared this with people. There's a fine line between persistence and pestering.
Yep.
There's a very fine line. And sometimes we determine what that line is because we let this big thing overtake us, and it's called fear. Okay? And once we let fear overtake us, then it determines how we go forward. But folks, I'm telling you, you can't, you've got to follow up because timing is everything, and you never know when the timing is going to be right. I've made many sales. I recruited many people when they didn't say yes at first. It took several times to go back and talk with them. It took several times to, share a little bit here, a little bit there, and then all of a sudden, boom, the timing got right for them. Something happened in their life that changed, and they realized, you know what? Maybe I do need to make some changes. Maybe I need to take some different steps. One of the things that you have the opportunity to do when you're out there talking to people, I don't use this a lot, but I know it's been used a lot. Decreasing the commission breath. People don't want to smell that on you like you're trying to sell them something. You're trying to push them something on them. When it makes sense and it's common sense to people, they don't feel you're being too pushy. You're just following up. You're being persistent, and it gives you the next step that you need to follow up on what you need to do. Your database is the most important thing for your business. Your phone is a close second. That database is priceless, y'all. It is priceless for you. And the more years that you're in, the longer that you're in sales and you're recruiting and you're doing things, the longer that list will get. Because there's always people going to say no that you can go back to. Yep. And then the people that say yes, you can always go back and get referrals. Mike, you want to cover the next one?
Yeah, so in prospecting, this is another area. So we just wanted to give you some ideas, and these are some of the slides I'm going to go through pretty quick. I'm not going to read all these off to you. But I want you to understand that prospecting is something that you do intentionally. Go to places where you know that you will meet people that may be interested in what it is that you have to offer. We have more and more people that are requesting, for banners and advertising, and people that are doing landing pages, and people that are doing more social media and doing individual pieces, but nothing beats, I tell you, just boots on the ground, so to speak, kind of walking. I know if your areas haven't opened up yet, I know Salt Lake's now opened up. We can go into restaurants now. The gym isn't open, and the gym is open, but the movie theater is not open yet. So this is very important that you go out and you physically go to these individual places. Then start looking at different types of events that you can go to. Your chamber, do they hold events? Are you part of the Lions Club? We talked about that introduction. You have a 15-second commercial ready. Be consistent when you show up at these meetings so people know that you're not a flake. And don't show up at the meetings touting a different thing every time you show up. Help co-sponsor events, hold education series. You would be amazed how many public libraries, now this is something that I really know exists, you'd be amazed how many public libraries are looking for curriculum to teach people after, like school hours, work hours, at the public libraries, little symposiums. And I know some individuals that have done this type of thing and had some good success with it. And then that gives you an in with that public library to hold larger meetings, and you have more exposure and you can build from there. So getting involved in your community and your prospecting and things of that nature is a very big deal as well. You have all of your advertisement pieces that you can utilize. Use shop, what I'm getting across through compliance, the 3-foot rule of everyone within 3 feet should know what you're doing. Now, that may not be your personality. Now, I know Steve and I, we go out a lot, and our personality is a lot like the 3-foot rule, isn't it, Steve?
Pretty much. We talk to. We're not afraid to talk to people. I mean, we bring up conversation, and I haven't always been that way, but through years of doing that, yep, If they're in the three foot area, we're going to talk to them.
And the conversation a lot of times isn't just about business. Many times, we hear people say, Mac, I want to know, I'm standing in line at Smith's, or I just met a guy, at the bar or eating dinner, and what do I say to him, that's going to make him want to do an appointment? Steve, that's always been my hardest one. And I think that has to do with creativity, but I really believe in that warm market, but in that 3-foot rule, many times you start out talking about something totally different. And in your experience, I mean, if you're carrying on a conversation with somebody you don't know, doesn't it usually circle around to what do you do for a living?
I would say well over 90-95% of the time, you're going to get in a conversation, and that conversation is going to end up being, well, what do you do for a living? It's always either you're going to ask it or they're going to ask you.
And we're not necessarily talking the guy that you're in line at the grocery store. You're going to end up, where do you, what do you do for a living? Unless you got a long line like we have now, maybe you could get there in a grocery line. But in a conversation is what has to be started. And I think I told you this years ago, and I think you've used it many times, and I know I've used it many times. People always ask, how do you sell so many? How do you get so many people interested? How were you able to sell so many? And I always said it was 3 words, and that was have a conversation. And I know that sounds really, like, wow, what a golden nugget I got. I'm glad I spent my hour on the call tonight. But it really is true. If you have a conversation, you're exchanging and you're listening to that other person more than you're talking. And you're trying to find out what is important to them. And so that kind of puts you on this dynamic of the slide bond right now, 3-foot rule about the product and being excited and then having your advertising and everything. But what about that whole idea of, I have a great job, I'm looking for agents, my business is expanding, things of this nature. I think we have to always remember that the conversation has to be started, and then it has the potential to move into a conversation that matters, but not always a conversation that matters. Sometimes it just, stays where it is. So, Steve, with side notes here on prospecting, what do you think about where we are so far in the material we've covered? Any thoughts popping into your head that you'd like to throw out there?
Yeah, a thought came in my mind especially about what I do. Because listen, I've heard this for 40 years. I've heard this. Hey, if you're in the grocery line, man, you need to learn how to talk to people. You need to talk to somebody that's in the grocery line, man. Get their name, try to talk to them. And you know what it is? I don't think that's really what it is. Last week I talked to everybody about sports and about football and basketball. And there's plays, right? There's certain plays, and you go back to the huddle, and the quarterback calls the play. Now, in practice, you might practice that play 100 times. You might practice it 50 times. Do you run it that many times in a game? No, you don't run it that many times in a game. But here's what you're doing. You're practicing for when the opportunity comes for you to run that play. And I think that's how you have to look at hey, they're talking about talking to people in the grocery line. Folks, don't put so much pressure on yourself. You feel like you're going to throw up trying to come up with some conversation in the grocery line or in picking up your clothes. It's practicing. It's learning how to carry on conversations.
Yes.
It's not talking necessarily about the business. It's learning how to practice, how to get better at it. And as years go by or months go by, you start to learn how to do it and how to bring up what you do for a living. And, hey, what do you do for a living? Or, man, you got a lot of grocery there. You must have a lot of kids. You just practice all these different things that make you better. You may not use them every time, but they make you better. And that's what kind of came to my mind, Matt.
And they make you more reachable too, Steve. I really think you hit on a big point. We want you, if you're not uncomfortable talking to people, keep doing what you're doing and talking. But a lot of people that come into this business, their biggest problem is, who do I talk to? Who do I go on to? You have to develop the skill set. I know Steve and I make it look easy. It's what we've done for a living. but you have to practice this art of being able to get individuals to open up to you and give you information and feel comfortable, sharing with you. Some of the side notes to prospecting is business cards is more important to get their information than it is for you to give them your card. I think your cell phone is the best tool you have. I always ask people for their phone number, and I put it right in my cell phone and I dial it. And I do that so if their phone line lights up, I know I've got the number right and everything. And I say, hey, you've got my number now. Go ahead and put my name there. I'll be in touch with you. Steve said this earlier, follow up, follow up, follow up. The fortune is in the follow-up. The fortune is always in the follow-up. It's, what is it, like 80% of all sales are made on the 8th follow-up call. I mean, that's ridiculous. When I first heard that number and then I started breaking the numbers down, and Steve is right. There is a difference between persistency and just being a pest. Everybody that you know needs to be listed on your back to the basics list. It needs to be on there. Whether you're going to call them, whether you're going to not. There is something else. So many people are making Excel spreadsheet lists and things of that nature, and I think they're great. There's something about writing names down and writing phone numbers down that makes a connection, and making the phone calls personally with that trainer and just saying, hey, Steve, I've got my trainer on the line, and I was just wondering, is your house paid for? Or whatever your trainer wants is that introduction. Activity tracking. I think a lot of people get really caught up with result. And Steve, coming from the insurance agents industry, that a lot of it doesn't have to do with just a result. It's activity. It's daily activity to build your business. Is that not correct?
Listen, we could name a lot of successes to any kind of business, and there are a lot of successes to any business, but let me tell you, there's no bigger success to business than activity. As long as you are doing something, if you are doing something, if you're gathering names, if you're walking down the street and you're talking to people, you're running into people, if you're running to the grocery store, you're running to the mall, or you're, just anything that creates activity.
This. If you're doing something right, something good for your business, because we don't, you know what I mean? That's why we have a process. But go on. I love what you're saying.
Yeah, and so activity is the key to success in business. It gives you the opportunity to meet more people, to come into contact with more people, build your list bigger, and have more people to give a presentation, and thus you make more sales, thus you recruit more people by doing that. If you are not creating activity, you've got to force yourself to create activity. If you're behind and sitting on the sofa watching TV during the day and you're not having activity, folks, there's nothing that me or Matt can do for you. There's nothing we can do for you. You got to get up off the couch. You got to go think of something. You got to go out there to work. You got to create some activity and call somebody, make a list, do something, practice your presentation, something. And good things will happen.
And when you're doing this activity, you need a place to track all of this. Excel offers a lot of different formats that you can go in. I go in and suggest that you create something for yourself, like cold calls, warm calls, calls with CFT, follow-ups for analysis, follow-ups for closings. These are just examples of what some of those sheets can look like, how you can get as detailed. This is actually a sheet that was from Dr. Joan Hockenstad. This is how detailed she gets with her activity sheet. But doing daily business is very essential to moving yourself forward. And if you're just starting out in business, a lot of that initial effort should probably be being focused to coming up with names of people to talk to, so you get your certified trainer engaged and learn the language of the product, learn the flow of the process, so you can get up and closing deals as fast as possible. In the initial stages, let the videos do the talking. Direct them to your replicated websites, and we've actually been working on those, and very happy with where we're headed, and have them watch the introductory videos that are on there. Watch those videos yourself first so that you know what they're looking at. There's many more videos located on the back office that you can share, but you need to go in and look at them first. if you haven't been through the back office and looked at each video, I'm not talking your agent back office under news section where our Tuesday night recordings all are. Just your presentations that are on your video replicated site, your opportunity replicated site, your product replicated site, and then your presentations that are located on your agent back office on the home. Go in and look at those and figure out ways and keep yourself constantly in this kind of forward motion of learning, but you're constantly doing at the same time. Steve, I know you want to hit fortune in the follow-up again.
You know, the follow-up is directly after you watch the videos. You know, you watch those videos, you learn what the product's about, you learn what the system can do for you and how it can help you to get out of debt and how you can start taking control of your money. You know, and then it's an opportunity for you to ask them, what did you like the best about the video? What you know, one of the things that people say is when people go to a meeting, you never ask them, well, how'd you like it? Well, you don't, okay? But one of the things that you can do is say, listen, what stood out in that video that caught your attention the most? What in that video made you think about maybe the position where you're at? Never ask, do you have any questions? Just say, what in that video did you like that impressed you the most? Is anything in that video, did it impact you the most? Do you see where it could help you the most? Set an appointment to get their numbers with a certified field trainer. Set the appointment. If you're there, you've got the opportunity to do it, you're sitting there with them, man, go ahead and just take the plunge. Hey, look, how about if I set up an appointment with my certified field trainer, let's say Tuesday night at maybe 7 o'clock, or how about Thursday night at 6:30? Which one of those would work for you? And go ahead and set up the appointment. You're going to talk to them about getting out of debt. I can show you your get out of debt date. Mine's June the 10th, 2025. That's my get out of debt date. What's yours?
The beauty of this is by asking them what you like the best. There's no negative, and they're going to give you kind of the key of the thing that really interests you the most, and say, well, whatever they come back with, I like that interest cancellation. I like the idea of saving all that money in interest and advancing the amortization. Whatever they say that's your end line as well. If we could solve that for you, or if we could answer that for you, would you be willing to make, 20, 30 minutes of time with my individual that runs analysis for me for clients? Would you be willing to take an appointment with him and see if something like this would work for you? In some way, it's imperative in the sales process that you share UFF with others, create curiosity, engage interest. You cannot keep this to yourself. Your introduction, that's what we're going to be going over the next 6, 7, 8 weeks. But we're going to introduce other material in there. We're not just going to stay solid on 6 weeks of introduction. But we're going to go over each one of these points for you over the next few weeks. And so, in summary, with whom do I start? Best to start with people you know. Get back to doing business and the basics. Your list is imperative for your business. As you build your business, you'll want to venture out more and more prospecting activities. Don't let anyone fall through the cracks. Use an activity worksheet. Track what you're doing. Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. I'm going to say that forever. Remember your UFF goals and take action daily. I wanted to save this slide for the very end, and I wanted to save this as well for Steve for the very end. You have to have goals in direct selling. You have to come up with a game plan, and the best place to help you build your game plan is the person that brought you in, or go next up line if they have great success and the person that brought you in is just learning as well, and learn together. You have to come up with goals that, we've got it now almost to a point that if, for certain teams are figuring it out. If I make X amount of phone calls, or I make X amount of appointments through my social media, or I make X amount of appointments through my warm list, I get X amount of analysis and I get X amount of closing. A lot of teams are beginning to figure this out. And if you're brand new to the company, tap into your teams and find out if they're figuring out this formula of how many people do you need to meet a week. So how many phone calls or how many presentations you can give a week to get how many appointments you can get a week to get how many closes you can get a week. And, at the very least, at the bottom of all of this, don't be a secret business owner. This has been Matt coming to you. And Steve, do you have any words of wisdom for him? Wrap us up.
No, just one thing that I want to share with you. And as Mac was talking, this morning I received a call at 8:30 this morning from one of our top producers. And we've got about 6 or 7 people that call me at least 2 times a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And here's what they ask me. What are my numbers? Because everybody can't see all their numbers. So they ask me what are their numbers, what's their personal, what's their base shop, and what's their through 6 generation. And they ask me, and they say, because I need to know where I'm at compared to so-and-so. I need to know where I'm at compared to so-and-so. I think I'm only 3 closes behind so-and-so. I think I'm only so many recruits behind so-and-so. They're competitive. They're hungry. They want to go out and do better and get their teams to stretch. And they got their teams participating in competition and teaching them competition, what competition's all about. Now, look, we can beat this next group. Man, they're only 3 sales ahead of us. They're only 2,000 in volume ahead of us. We can go out there. Who can go make a sale? Who's got a sale on the line? Man, you got to start pushing that to people and get them excited. And at the end of the month, you give them a plaque or you give them a shirt or you give them some kind of praise or something for having a great month. Or you get on your team call and you tell them, man, old Bill, this month, I'm going to tell you what, he tore it up. He got us over the hump. He really got us. We beat old so-and-so, and he really did the job. And brag about those people. Learn to talk about your people and brag about your people. They're the ones that make you money, not you. Your people do. And be thankful for those people that they help you make money. Look, much success to you. Everyone, please be safe out there during this period of time. Watch the places that you go and take care of yourself. We appreciate all your business and all that you do for United Financial Freedom. I thought that I would have the forms out this week. I will have them out next week. You're going to love them. There are going to be some new forms that you'll have available to you to really track your team and really know what to do to help keep your team in direction. So have a great week. Thanks, everybody. Mac, thank you, my friend.
All right, everybody, from Steve and Mac, let's get out there and do it big. Let's get out there and do it right, but at the very least, get out there and do something right now. This is Mac Steve saying bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody. Good night.